time to get serious about your financial future. It's never too early, but it could be too late to get started. And that's oftentimes the hardest part, getting started. How much do I save? Where do I invest? Do I save for college or retirement? How much for each? And who do I talk to about it all? Okay, we'll keep things simple for now and help you answer the last one. We recommend you begin with a local financial advisor, and that's Jennifer Johnson of Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. She'll sit down with you for a complimentary introductory consultation and go over all of your questions. Get started on the path to achieving your financial goals. Visit threemagnoliasfinancialadvisors.com or call 336-701-1600. Get comfortable with your financial future. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors, retirement, financial planning, and investments. Securities offered through Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors and Private Client Services are not affiliated. Private Client Services is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
My name is Tracy Meisner, and this is Mind Your Business.
Mind Your Business is a video podcast series to help startups, small businesses, and entrepreneurs navigate the world of business through the stories of other business owners. If you have questions, we have answers, and the reasons why starting your own business can be rewarding not only to your bank account, but to your soul as well. Tracy Meisner is a seasoned veteran of creating multiple startups and following his passion. This podcast series dives deep into the fundamentals of business ownership. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the ride. It's time to mind your business.
Ellie Scalf is the owner of the Little Cake Company, a small batch scratch-made bakery in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She grew up in New Jersey and attended college at Virginia Tech, where she majored in finance. She worked in banking for 7 years after graduation, but has always loved baking and desserts. Her mom taught her how to bake from scratch as a kid, starting with chocolate chip cookies and brownies. Ellie used to bake for friends and roommates in college, and then for her coworkers at the bank, typically bringing in dessert once a week. After years of people asking when she was going to start her own bakery, she decided to go for it in 2022 and has been enjoying the journey ever since. Let's welcome Ellie Scalf.
We are here with Ellie Scalf, who owns the Little Cake Company. And Ellie, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So I want to start from, there was a story you told me, and I want to use that so badly because there's always some push or shove to get you to start your own business. What inspired you to start the Little Cake Company, and what was the moment you knew you had to make it happen?
So I don't know if there was a singular moment. It's kind of been building up for years. I've been baking my entire life. You know, my mom taught me how to make chocolate chip cookies from scratch as a kid, and in college I started baking for my roommates a lot, and then when I graduated, got a job, I was bringing in dessert once a week for my coworkers, you know, taking requests for people's birthdays. Sorry, my cat's about to jump into the frame, but
perfectly all right.
Yeah, just been baking my entire life, and I really enjoyed working at the bank for the first few years. But then went through the merger, BB&T and SunTrust, and it was just changing a lot. The culture changed a lot, and it wasn't really where I wanted to be anymore. So I figured, you know, what's the worst that could happen? So
you also told me there was a real push. There was an incident that happened. Can you tell us about this incident that happened that really made you want to do this?
Are you talking about the
It was
tree?
about the tree. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess back in 2020, bought my first house. Really excited. Moved in. 4 weeks later, had a huge storm roll through, and the giant oak tree in the front yard that I had liked crashed through the house. Really totaled the house. It was just a horrible experience. I was home actually on a work call when it happened. So very just fortunate to make it out alive, really, let alone unhurt. So that did kind of spur me on to, well, you dealt with that, you got through that. So what's the worst that could happen starting a business?
Yeah, you have your house crash. So you left the corporate world to start your own business. What motivated you? Was there a certain motivation to get you to make that leap to go, I'm not going to work for anybody, I'm going to work for myself?
Yeah, again, it just wasn't really happy with my day to day anymore. I was working really long hours, and I figured if you're gonna work, 60, 70 hours a week, why are you doing it for someone else? Might as well be working for yourself at that point. And just again, didn't like the day to day anymore, and figured I'd be happier making cake all day long. So,
I love it. What skills or experiences from the corporate career helped you in launching or running your bakery?
yeah, honestly, a lot. So my degree is actually in finance, and then my most recent job was underwriting business loans. So pretty comfortable with business financials, so I do all the bookkeeping myself. So that really just understanding profitability and balance sheets, income statements, I think really really helped a lot. I honestly don't know how people do it without basic understanding of accounting because it just you need to know if you're making money or not at the end of the day.
Right.
So it was a huge help.
Did you do a formal business plan for your business?
Not super formal. Like I put together a Word document with, here's the name, here's the concept. I did do financial projections, which again is going back to my background in banking, super helpful. So I put together like, here's revenue that I think I need. Here are all the expenses I can think of over the first year. What does that look like? How much do I need to make to break even? How much do I need to make to be profitable? So I think the financial projections were most helpful for me.
So looking back on those projections, how close were you? Were you close, super close? How close?
Pretty close. I will say where it started to diverge after probably the first year or so because I started doing more and more custom orders that I wasn't really planning on because I honestly didn't really decorate cakes as much as I do now when I first started. I thought I would be doing more regular birthday cakes, so I'd have to do more of them. Um, so as my skill level as a baker has progressed, then the ratio of normal walk-ins, you're spending $5 on a slice of cake versus custom orders where it's $75 on a cake, that ratio has changed a lot. So I think it's important to be open to things are not going to be exactly what you think they are. I really didn't think I'd even do weddings when I first opened, and now I do multiple weddings a month, and they're smaller weddings. It's not huge tiered cakes, but I didn't think I'd even be doing weddings at all. So
And you found that to be more profitable.
more
So
profitable
is
and
that
more enjoyable. I didn't think I would like decorating cakes and doing like the fancy vintage piping and all that. I had never really done it before, so I just didn't think I'd be that good at it or like it that much, but it turns out it's my favorite thing to do.
and it helps that it's pretty
It is,
profitable.
yes.
Yeah, it's sort of that's kind of how business works is like, I didn't know that this was going to be profitable. Let's go that
Right.
way. So yeah, the thing that we've learned is adaptability.
Hmm.
Some of the tools that we're using now didn't exist 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
which is AI. So I do a lot of AI stuff. Um, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in transitioning from corporate life to small business owner? And I think I'm going to know the answer to this, but go ahead and tell us.
It's really just everything completely different. You're not get it was a little different too because I had been working from home for about a year at that point since COVID hit. So you're going from getting up in the morning and just going downstairs to your office, logging in, and sitting down at a computer all day, to getting up, you're on your feet for 10 to 12 hours a day, actually making cake, having to go into a workplace again instead of staying at home, all completely different. And then just financially, obviously, not getting a paycheck anymore was, had to get used to that. No health insurance through business, have to figure that all out for yourself. So it's just
Okay.
complete lifestyle change for me.
So was there a particular business model that you modeled your cake company after? Like, did you go in and go to like Dewey's or any of the other bakeries
Yeah.
around town?
So it's actually more Maxi B's in Greensboro. If you've ever been there, they have
I have
similar.
not.
So I used to live in Greensboro before I moved to Winston. And I always liked their cakes. You just walk in and they'd have a bunch of different cake flavors by the slice, cupcakes, cookies, but you could also order cakes. So I always liked it there. So it's kind of what I did. You can come into my bakery, you can get a slice of cake, you can get cupcakes, or you can place an order, get a custom cake. So.
Um, so running a retail operation obviously comes with a lot of unique challenges. What are some of the hardest parts about managing a bakery?
Just making sure to get everything done. Especially the more orders I take on, I'm paranoid I'm going to forget one, so I've got everything written in three different places so I can always cross check myself. So that, and then just you're dealing with people all day, every day, so you just never know what to expect. You never know what someone's going to ask for. Most of our customers are great, really love chatting with them, but every once in a while, you get someone who's just not in a good mood and you have to deal with them. So it changes.
Who's not in a good mood walking into a bakery?
Right.
It's like bakeries and flower shops. You should be in a really good
Right,
mood.
you'd think, and most people are, but every once in a while.
I hear you. So how did you handle the financial pressures of starting your business from funding to cash flow management? That's cash flow is key to a business.
Yep. So again, crunching all the numbers before I started was really helpful. I made sure I had enough set aside that I didn't need to pay myself for a while until the business was actually paying for itself. So I think it's just really important to understand the numbers. I was fortunate enough I was able to finance it myself and with a small loan for my parents, so I didn't have to get bank financing, which makes a huge difference. No interest to pay or anything. So again, just being really careful, being as frugal as possible until the business was paying for itself and I could then start paying myself.
Um, so you in a business, there's always doubt. Will I make it next
hmm
month? How do you push through? What do you do to help yourself push through the month?
Yeah,
There's going to be some months that are just not there.
yeah. Or things that are beyond your control, like the price of eggs skyrocketing. For me, it's honestly, I don't have a choice. I have to figure it out. So that there's no alternative. You just got to figure it out.
Got it. Um, what's something you wish you would have known before you opened the little cake company?
Hmm. That's a good question because I'm not sure if there's any one thing in particular, except probably you're gonna have more doubts than you think you will. Because again, I thought I was pretty prepared. I did a lot of number crunching, but there are just days that are slow or eggs are 77 cents an egg and you're not expecting that. So I think knowing there are going to be days where it's just beyond your control, you're going to have a bad day and you're going to wonder if you're going to be able to pay the bills. And you just
Right.
got to work through it.
Um, so let's talk about the rewarding part.
hmm
For you, what's the most rewarding part about the little cake company?
It's probably making cakes for people's big celebrations, like getting to be part of their weddings, their birthdays. We do a lot of little smash cakes for first birthday parties, and sometimes parents will, send me pictures of the kid like going at it afterwards, and it's really, I love being able to help make their day better, make their celebration.
How do you balance creativity with the day-to-day operations of running a bakery? I mean, there's as as we all know, it's two different things. It's business and it's bakery.
Hmm.
And how do you balance that?
So I actually consider myself more analytical, more logical, more business minded. So that part comes more naturally to me. Again, I think just being in banking for so many years, that's just my nature. And then baking is just the passion. So it kind of, for me, it meshes really well without having to think too much, which is really nice. And I think that's one of the nice things about turning your passion into your business is the passion is there. Like I love to bake. I love to come up with new flavors. I love to eat cake. I love to make cake. So I don't really have to think about it too much, which is nice.
Right. You know, I think that's one of the things that we do have in common because I'm a number cruncher.
Hmm.
Nothing really in my business surprised me. And this, anything to do with video or audio or talking to people, it's what I love to do. I could sit and edit video all day long
Right.
and not get paid for it. It's a whole lot more fun when you do get paid.
Exactly.
Um, so it's sort of like getting paid to do something that you like to do. Um,
Exactly.
how have you built a loyal customer base? And I have read reviews. I mean, you do have some loyal little cake company fans. How do you build a loyal customer base, and what role has the Winston-Salem community played in that?
Yeah, just trying to provide a good product, so make sure the cake tastes good, but then good customer service. If there ever is an issue, which thankfully over the past 3 years, maybe only a handful of people have had a problem, like they didn't like the color, so we fix it if we can. Just
Right.
making sure they're having a good experience and they're enjoying the product at the end of the day. And I do think Winston in general is really supportive of their small businesses. So going out, especially to other vendor events that we do sometimes and meeting the other business owners, getting to know them, then, they'll recommend me if someone needs a cake, I can recommend them if, they make jewelry or something and someone I know is looking for new earrings. It's really
Kind of,
getting to know each other, supporting each other, and I really think Winston is a great place to own a business.
I could not agree more. Is there any specific events that you do that is outside the store? Like, are there pop-ups? Do you do pop-ups? Do you do anything like that?
Occasionally, especially around like Christmas time, holidays, we'll do events. And the big one I've actually got coming up at the end of April is Southern Charm at the Farm, which I did for the first time last year. So it's at Tanglewood, and it's about 300 small locally owned businesses. So people come and just do a whole day of shopping. And those are they're really fun. They're exhausting to prep for, but they're really fun. And it gets me out of the bakery for a day, which is nice.
So do you have any plans of opening a second location? Has that ever kind of been in the back of your head? Maybe
Yeah.
like a mobile truck or something?
Not at the moment. Happy with the one location, and just logistically, it would be a lot to deal with. So I'll never say never, but not at the moment.
Okay. Um, what marketing strategies has worked best for you?
The vendor events, really, just getting out, meeting new people, handing out business cards. People who didn't know about me before now do. That has been a huge benefit. And also, when we first opened, the Winston-Salem Journal did an article about me, which also was a really good catalyst to get people just to even know that I existed at that point.
When the weather warms up, so does the real estate market. Sounds obvious, right? It's true. Spring typically means more home sales. But how will the current interest rates affect people's decisions? What about inventory? Is it high or low? And does that benefit the buyer or the seller? And how do those factors take into account a certain price point or area of the triad? Now it's not so obvious, is it? That's why you should turn to the Ginther Group to make sense of it all. You need someone you can rely on to assess your situation, read the data and trends, and point you in the right direction. Interest rates, inventory, even new construction. There are so many factors that impact our local market. And you should get your information from the folks right here in our backyard. Contact Blake Ginther and the Ginther Group today, 336-283-8689, or visit theginthergroup.com. Buying, selling, investing, or just learning, whatever you need, start now. And like me, you can become a Ginther Group client for life.
Springtime brings so many special occasions, so why not spring into Dewey's for all your celebration needs? From custom, unique cakes to balloons and party tableware to the perfect gift, Dewey's is your one-stop shop in the Triad. Even if you don't have a big event on the horizon, it's always a great day to stop by your local Dewey's Bakery, especially on Mondays for a free Cake Square Day. No purchase necessary and available all year round at any of their Triad area locations in Winston-Salem at Thruway Shopping Center and Renolda Manor, and in Greensboro at the Friendly Shopping Center. Need to place that order now? Visit local.deweys.com, and as a listener of the Triad Podcast Network, you'll receive 25% off by using the code PODCAST. Our friends at Dewey's are always finding great ways to give back to our local community, providing millions of dollars to nonprofits. Your organization can also partner with Dewey's to raise money. Just email cake@deweys.com to learn more. Don't miss the chance to make your event even more special with an order at local.deweys.com. Use the promo code PODCAST for 25% off. Dewey's. Celebrate every day.
So let's talk and this isn't in my questions, but when I taught business, I always taught business plan to my students because I used to teach them, anyone can do video, but not everyone can make money doing video. And honestly, that's the most important part about video.
It is.
And so I would teach them that there are 4 possible locations for a business, and each has their pluses and minuses. Number 1 is your house. Obviously, you can't do that.
Right.
Because you don't want people coming to your house.
Well, I also own a cat, so I actually can't. Department of Agriculture won't let you have a home bakery if you have any pets.
Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2 is office. Like an office space, like in a building. That's number 2. Number 3 is industrial, like an office warehouse kind of thing. And number 4 is, and the most expensive, is retail. So retail, I typically, whenever my students ask me, hey, I want to open up a studio, I try to kind of work them back into their house. You can't do that. How did you pick your location? Because that's the most important part about retail.
Yeah, I looked at a lot of different locations with a realtor, commercial real estate broker. It was a little trickier with a bakery, too, because anything in a plaza that had a grocery store, most of the time the grocery store had an agreement in their lease that there couldn't be another bakery, so that narrowed it down a lot. I did look at some places downtown, but they were A, more expensive, and B, didn't have really good parking, so I would have been more reliant on walk-ins. And I really wanted, again, since I was planning on selling birthday cakes and people would be coming to pick up, a couple dozen cupcakes, I wanted better parking so they could park, come in, carry out 2 dozen cupcakes to their car. So eventually found the place that I found. I thought it was a pretty good location, lots of traffic, not a bakery, a couple bakeries nearby, but not super close, so not a ton of immediate competition.
Okay. All right. Have you had a defining moment where you knew that you were succeeding? Where you just, it?
I don't know if it's been one singular moment or just a lot of little moments for me. Again, I feel like my skills, especially with decorating, have gotten a lot better. And every time I do a cake with a new style, I'm like, wow, I really didn't think I would be capable of that. So little things like that to me, or if you don't have, best day of sales, it's like, it just new goals, I think, new small goals to set day after day, week after week is really what drives me. And I feel like just meeting those little goals, like I didn't think I would pull off that decoration as good as I did, or sold even more cakes than usual this week. It's just those things are really what makes me feel good.
Um, so one of the biggest parts of this thing that we're doing is inspiring people to follow their passion. Um, I have spent the better part of 15, 16 years inspiring people to follow your passion. Because life is really short. You might as well do something that you like to do. Everybody's got the same 24 hours, 8 of it sleeping, 8 of it is working, and 8 of it should be with like family and friends. So it's 1/3 of your life. You might
Mhm.
as well kind of do something that you like. What advice would you give someone thinking about leaving their corporate job, that steady paycheck,
Yeah.
going for the total unknown? Give me some advice.
The most practical advice I think would be, again, make sure you understand the numbers, make sure you have enough money set aside that if you can't pay yourself for a year, you're going to be okay. And just really do the research before you quit. Don't, quit and think you'll figure it out. Just like have your ducks in a row, then just do it. Like honestly, what's the worst that could happen?
Okay. Well, the paying, knowing the money situation, there was a retail business that opened up right pretty close to us. Really nice location. And about 30 days before they were going to open, they did a GoFundMe for their point of purchase sales system.
Okay.
And that was my clue that they weren't prepared. Like,
Yeah.
the most important part about a business is being able to take money. Like,
Right.
if you don't have a way
Right.
to take money, you pretty much don't have a business. So I was like, so my wife asked me, she was like, I've never seen that before. And I go, well, I give the business 6 months. It was 5.
Yeah. I mean, especially, yeah, again, it's just, you should have had that figured out.
Like, that shouldn't have been a surprise.
Right.
Um,
No, that again, that was a lot of the work that I did before resigning was okay, here's a list of all the equipment I think I need to buy. Here's an estimate. Let's bump that up, 10-15% just in case the price increases before I can pay for it.
right.
It's like you got to build in, cushions and understand how much money you're about to spend before you pull the trigger and stop getting that paycheck.
Let's talk briefly about branding. You have a specific brand, and I see it. I'm very brand oriented. I'm not wearing my shirt, but everything in my business scheme is orange,
Yeah.
orange and green. In fact, in October, I bought an orange car.
Oh, nice.
Um, Yours is very pink. It's
Mhm.
uh, all lowercase. It's very, even your pictures on
Mhm.
your Instagram is very, they're all exactly the same. It's very, very branding. How
Thank you.
important is branding to you and to a business?
Yeah, I think just like you said, it's important to be consistent. So you're always looking for orange. I'm always looking for pink, and then a little bit of navy blue in there.
Hmm.
Just being consistent. So I will sometimes just open my Instagram feed and scroll through to make sure it all looks consistent. The lighting's similar. The pictures are similar. I've got a note of what fonts I use, so that's all consistent. So it's just I think I'm a very detail-oriented person, so I would notice if the fonts were different, so I'm assuming that someone else would notice.
They
So
they will,
even if
yes.
they don't consciously notice it, I think people will be like, "Oh, that looks a little unprofessional." So even if it's not a conscious notice, I'm very aware of trying to make sure I'm using the same color, the same font, keeping, the lighting similar, just because it would bother me. So,
So you have obviously a website,
hmm
and um, there are probably a million other little cake companies. I'm sure you probably researched that. How did you, what did you have to do with your website in order to get your name in there?
yes, so the littlecakecompany.com was actually available for sale, but it was I think $3,000 or $4,000, so just
Okay.
not even close to being in budget. So since we're local to Winston-Salem, locally owned, we put a WS on there, so it's the Little Cake Company WS.com.
Okay.
And then going back to being consistent, made sure to do the same handle on Instagram, Facebook, so everything is the same
Consist-
everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. I there are a number of companies that I work with that their company name is this and um their website is something like if it was a real estate agent, it their website was we buy houses in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, according to, and it's just this big long
Yeah.
thing. It's like, oh my God, you gotta make it, you gotta like
Yeah.
tone it down. So yes, I'm very particular about branding too. In fact, uh,
Nice.
even my even my phone. And when people look at this and I show them this, the little
hmm
thing here, that's an M.
Yeah.
It's also the play button.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I've always seen it as an M, but now that you said that,
It's the
yeah,
play button. So yes, everything is branded. And by the way, that was done by a former student of mine.
nice.
So I do kind of spread the love around. Um, we're going to wind up with, where do you see the little cake company in the next 5 years?
Yeah. So for right now, I'm actually looking for my second employee to keep growing. So my goal over the next 5 years is just to keep growing, keep doing for me more custom orders because I have found that that's really what I like the most. Which again was a surprise when I first opened. Had no idea I'd be doing the kind of decoration I do. So that's my goal is to get some more employees to help with the day to day so I can focus more on bigger orders, more fun orders, and just enjoying what I do every day, really.
And yeah, build that brand. Um, is there anything you wish I would have asked you in this little thing?
I don't think so. I think you've covered it all.
Well, I try to. My hope is that some person is going to go, I hate my job. And I'm working on a whole system of getting people to figure out where to do the side hustle to make it a
hmm
full-time thing.
Yeah.
So you didn't really have, did you do this as a side hustle?
Not really. I did occasionally make cakes for people I worked with for their kids' birthdays and stuff, and they'd pay me on the side. But again, the big thing for me is since I have a cat, I couldn't sell from my house because if I had been able to, I probably would have started trying to sell at farmers markets on the weekends.
Right.
But I couldn't legally do that, so I just had to jump in both feet.
Yeah. So your cat would jump in with both.
I would have tried to ease into it a little bit more if I could have, but
I totally get it. It explains a lot because I, it's rare for me to see a business go from where you went from corporate
Yeah.
right into retail, that doesn't happen very, very often. And the chances of success are very small. You have probably the best advantage in the fact that you're a number cruncher,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you understand how important all of those numbers are, how important
Mhm.
overhead is,
Yeah.
and the effects of a rent increase. Um, I had a retail operation for about 3 years, and the month that I moved in, the DOT came through the front of my store and spent the next 3 years widening the road
Oh gosh. Uh,
and closing um, the entrance to my store and making it so you couldn't make a left turn into it. You had to go up to the next intersection to make a U-turn.
yeah.
Not only that, but I positioned myself so that you could see right when you came out of a Publix, but they built a wall,
Of course.
and it was like that when they built the wall that you couldn't see my store from Publix. I was like, that's my sign. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
fair
done.
enough.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of retail, but in your instance, you definitely have to do retail.
Yep.
And my area now is considered bakery central. I mean, my backyard is
That's
Camino,
right.
and just down the street from us is Bobby Boy.
Yeah.
So they just opened their big thing,
Is it
and
open now?
I don't know if their no, they have not gotten their coffee shop open, but
Okay.
they are baking out of
Oh,
there.
okay.
They are
Interesting. I didn't
full
realize they were
tilt.
moving operations there too.
Yeah, all their operations. That's where they're going to be doing desserts for all the big restaurants, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's their goal. Um, any other piece of advice that you would give a prospective person that's thinking about starting their own business? Give me the three top things that they should know when starting a business.
So, I mean, I'm gonna hammer it home again, but you have to know the numbers, you have to know the financials. Like in my instance, I need to know how much money am I making on each slice of cake. You just have to understand the numbers. It's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, you're never. Sorry, my cat is keeps hitting the computer. But if you don't know the numbers, you're just never going to be able to figure out how to make money. So that is by and large the first
Okay.
thing. Um, Here he comes again.
I'm
Uh,
just walking by.
yeah. Number two, I do think branding is very important, being consistent and knowing your colors, your fonts, just what do you want it to look like and being consistent across everything. And then number three is probably make sure you're providing good customer service because I think that's why we have customers who keep coming back is they not only like the cake, but we're also friendly. We're happy to see them. If there ever is a problem, we're gonna make it right.
Yeah, my father used to give me. He said, in business, you only have two choices: what you want to do and what you should do.
Yeah.
And if you do what you should do, the rest kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, there are a lot of times where I'm like, I don't want to do this, and it's the right thing to do, and it may cost you right now, but in the long run, it's gonna save your business.
Exactly.
Any last words you want to say to anybody about thinking about doing their own business?
I just, in my opinion, go for it. Even if it doesn't work out, I feel like as long as you're willing to just learn from it, it's not, in my opinion, a failure.
Excellent. That's a nugget right there. I will see you next time. And for everybody out there, this has been Mind Your Business.